Hello everyone, bonjour tout le monde. Welcome to EFA31 on this Tuesday, April 28th. Today I want to talk about sharing, I want to talk about listening to the balanced message of fixing the unbalance right now. We have an unbalance, correct? And when I'm going to talk about the unbalance, I've talked about this 4 weeks ago. People have talked about this on your news talk radio. There's a lot of stuff going on right now on your news talk, your smart channels out there, the good information out there. And then some of the communication, what I'm going to go into right now, is being discussed, right? And when I'm looking at sharing information and the unbalance, we have segments of our population. Everybody was touched by this psychologically. Everybody was touched by this in a certain way, right? But financially, let's be honest here, there's households that financially wasn't affected at all, right? They're still fully paid, fully operational, everything. And there's other households where one or two or three or more salaries were affected. And in some households, all salaries were affected, whether it's one person or numerous people, everything was affected. There's entire families that depend on businesses that were closed, shut down. So when I look at the unbalance, there's an unbalance there. And a lot of these businesses and all of these places can go back. We know that. And we know that because there's a lot of information being shared. And when I look at that, like Italy, and I say Italy, they were affected hard, right? There's countries like Germany that did some smart stuff and that kind of stuff. And countries that were hit hard have been advanced of us. They're realizing certain things, right? And I look at Italy, like Italy, condividi per favore, like share the information with Canada, please. Like, and in Canada, please listen to what they're going to share with you. And because a lot of these countries, they're realizing that if we do this, the infection rate doesn't jump, right? There's no increase, it doesn't transmit, etc. when we do this. But when we do that, we're realizing groups, for example, in large groups and for long durations. When you're in large group for long duration, that's when the spread tends to happen. But when you're doing things fast-paced, routinely, in and out, bada boom, bada bing, it doesn't spread. Like it doesn't spread as much. It's very minimal, right? Especially with PPEs or face covering, sanitizing. I look at organizations right now. Your big box grocery stores, your big box food chains, or your grocery stores, or your pharmacies. They're open, correct? You're walking through, people are walking through, and etc. And why is that? Because A, we need food, we got to eat. And B, they know that those kind of situations tend to have less spread, right? And also, what's in place? What's in place? What are all these places doing? All these organizations, what are they doing? Sanitization, right? Cleaning. They're sanitizing everything all the time on a schedule. They're not just cleaning once in a while. They're always cleaning. They're on a schedule. Just like when you go to your public restrooms and on your highways, and you see that little calendar and check sheet. That's what they're doing on everything all the time, right? So they follow a schedule. So it's very clean. Correct. I don't know about you, but the businesses that I talk about, the support your local families and all the restaurants and the service industry that I go to, those families I go to and those businesses I go to and et cetera, is because I know they're very clean people. And I know they keep very clean businesses. And when you're there, they're constantly cleaning on top and above and beyond the requirements of health departments, et cetera, et cetera. These are very clean organizations because that's their bread and butter. Right, that's their bread and butter. That's their babies. That's the clients of their families they serve all the time. So those individuals, they're ready. They don't need to. You tell them, open your door, just follow those measures and procedures. I will guarantee you they will follow those measures and procedures above and beyond your requirements. Because right now, we are also creating a mindset out there. We are creating the summer off mindset. We're creating the I'm going to take 3 months. I'm going to go back in September mindset because I'm getting this money. Right, I am getting this money, so I'm going to take time off, right? And that's not good. And I'm telling you, I'm going to get into something here why it's not good, because why it's happening, because it is happening, right? People are, where are they getting all this money? Well, they're printing the money. Well, how are they going to pay for it? Well, it's going to balance itself, right? It's going to balance itself. Well, why don't you just print more money, right? Just keep printing money. Why don't they always do that if it's going to balance itself, right? Well, it doesn't. It doesn't balance itself. There's a massive debt that's going to have to be paid. It's going to have to be restructured. There's going to have to be some loss of jobs. There's going to be ripple effects of all this. The groups of people that were really affected financially, right? Well, there's other people going to get affected financially with a ripple effect. And how do you contain a ripple? If you throw a rock into a pond and it ripples, you can contain it. That ripple, correct? And that's what we're trying to do with isolation. However, with all the education that we have right now and everything that we're doing, I know organizations out there that are essential. I'm part of the essential group right now in one of my companies. They're my partner, and there's organizations out that are essential, and they can't get their workforce back. But they provide the personal protective equipment. They don't even have, like in Ontario, for example, you don't have to give it to them, but you actually have to make sure the measurement procedure are in place, et cetera, et cetera. But they're going above and beyond that because that's their bread and butter we talked about, right? So they're going in and they're giving PPEs, personal protective equipment, and gloves. And they not only face masks, I've seen like double filtered face masks, fully covered, sanitation stations everywhere, sanitizers everywhere, wash stations everywhere, cleaning schedules, like even doorknobs, etc. They have all that in place, and employees still don't want to come in. I don't want to come in, the world out there, et cetera, et cetera. But if they're essential service and they've done everything reasonably possible, right? When they look at certain regulations and acts, and they're doing everything reasonably possible to prevent everything with the distancing schedules inside their facilities, the sanitation, the wash stations, the PPEs, everything, right? Shouldn't the workers go back to work, right? If that's their job, because those individuals now they're hiring because their other workers don't want to come in, because they're getting paid also, right? Let's keep that in mind. They're getting paid to stay home, but they don't want to come in because of fear. But other people are going in because all the measurement procedures are in place, and they've done everything reasonably possible to prevent everything. And I know there's people that have conditions out there, or their people in their household might have suffering from cancer and that kind of stuff. They can't be around. A good employer will never stop that. They love their families of employees and that kind of stuff. But they got to go to business because they also have contracts to meet, correct? They also have obligations to meet, but they can't meet them because they can't get their staff back. They used to have 60 staff, now they got 20. They used to have 15 staff, now they got 5. They used to be, you get it, right? So we're having a percentage of the population that doesn't want to come back because they're fearful out there. But even though all the measures and procedures are in place and everything is put in order and cleaning schedules, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, there's still individuals that still don't want to come in, right? And then you hear the ones out there that are blatantly telling people, why you want to work, man? You're getting $2,000, right? Why go to work? Why go to work? Well, it'll balance itself, won't balance itself. And the realists out there, and those that understand the grassroots, that understand where the dollars and cents come from, and that understand the value and importance of maintaining the fabric of our organizations, of our structures, of our societies, which is the businesses that keep the systems going, that keep feeding the government programs for the check on the system. It's a big process, right? We work together. Government and business work together, but you need that pulse, you need that blood into the body of the organization, which the business is important. And all those businesses can go back, right, with measurement procedures, with sequences, etc. But put the list out there, because right now you have essential services out there that they're doing above and beyond what is required of them, and they have all the PPEs and all the stuff, but people are still not coming in because you haven't provided a list. You got to tell the workers if you're essential services and if they're meeting all these criteria, if they have this in place, you have to go back to work, right? Or you have to come back with a doctor's note. Or you have to have medical proof that you're afraid of COVID-19, et cetera, et cetera. Because there has to be a kind of a timeline. No? Is this off till September? Are we people off till October? When are we going to restructure here? When are we going to get back? Because we know that if we can go to grocery stores, people can go to organized, structured facilities. There's certain things that we can take our time in and sequence because we have to be cautious. Right? Cautionary approach. We all agree to that. Nobody's going to argue like that, right? Nobody's going to. Right now, they're finding secondary effects. I talked about this on previous level, like strokes in people in their 40s and 50s that you don't usually see in their 70s. So there's a lot of underlying things that are looking at. Hence why we got to take this approach cautionary-wise, right? However, provide the list, your essential services, what deems it essential, what do they need in their workplace, give them what they need, and this way here the workers can come back to work and they provide them, just like any other thing. Otherwise, it's a work refusal. If a facility, an operation is deemed essential and they provide every single thing to their employees for them to come back and so they can be operational, so they can meet their contracts also, so they can meet their obligations also and try to work in this crazy mess we're in. And if they do above and beyond the minimum requirements, then that's a work refusal, correct? But unless you, the government, right? You, the government, put measures and procedures in place. If you're refusing to go to work, you have to have a medical report, you have to have a medical note, you have the medical something, right? Or the employer, if you're refusing to work, can hire, right? But the employee's saying, you got to keep my job. So you see the imbalance? You see the imbalance in the families that lost everything, all the money and etc., to the employer that's trying to meet all the regulations and trying to be proactive, and he's meeting the essential service. He's trying to meet the essential service because he's got contracts to meet too also, and they're trying to do everything. And he or she are trying to run their business, but nobody wants to come in because they're getting money and they can stay at home. And they're very fearful of the outside because nobody has told them you can go outside, follow these measures and procedures. You can go to work, and you got to have these personal protective equipment in place, etc., right? So there's the imbalance. Otherwise, we are creating ripple effects, and we are creating ripple effects that it'll spread. Right, the financial will spread. When it can be contained, it can be controlled. We can go back to motion, and everybody that's unbalanced right now financially can go back to balance. Okay. Jean-Guy Bourguignon, EFA31, wishing each and every one of you a fantastic, productive, and healthy week. Please share, click on the bell, do whatever needs to be done, subscribe. Thank you. I appreciate your time.